Here we are, kids. NHL Free Agency Show 2018. Welcome into the Hockey Talk Show. We are going to cover everything wall to wall about what's going on right now in the National Hockey League with these free agency maneuvers. It is 11:35 in the East. In 25 minutes, officially, everybody will be able to sign a contract, and we will have all the signings and the breaking news, and more importantly, the discussion to talk about it right here on the Hockey Talk Show. First, I want to say to all my Canadian viewers and listeners, happy Canada Day. That's what's most important about all this. Hockey, yes, we're here. That's why we're here. That's what draws us in. But there's a life outside of this great sport, and it's important to celebrate those things and recognize those things right off the bat. So happy Canada Day to you. And secondly, John Tavares, where's he going? Seriously, what the f***? Welcome into the Hockey Talk Show, everybody, on this Sunday, special Sunday edition. It is July 1st. We are 23 minutes away till teams can officially sign players to contracts. I know if you're following closely, you probably heard a whole bunch of stuff. Players signing, players this, players that. Unless a player actually belonged to that team, there has been no signatures yet. That'll come at 12 o'clock, but that's all semantics. We're here to talk about what's going on in the hockey world right now, which certainly is a lot. John Tavares, obviously, on top of all of this. And we're going to delve into John Tavares in a big, big way here, figure out what's going on, try and talk about what are the possibilities here, where does he wind up going, are the Islanders officially dead? Is Toronto really the front runner? Do the Tampa Bay Lightning have a chance? Why does nobody care about Dallas anymore, seeing as that they were one of the teams that actually had an interview? There is just so much going on to this John Tavares cornucopia of rumors and intrigue. We can probably do the entire show on that. And I would guess it's going to be a majority part of this program, but not the entire thing altogether. We still have a lot of other big players to talk about and discuss on the show. Erik Karlsson is going to be a big determining factor today in our coverage. What is going to happen with him? Now, I've heard the Ottawa Senators do not want to talk about him today. That is, I guess, Pierre Dorian's attempt to try and, prioritize and quell those rumors. He's going to try and go out and get some free agents to improve his hockey club. But it's the unavoidable thing at the end of the day that is still going to be there, which is, what are you doing with this player? This is a big-time player. He's the biggest name that's out there that has 1 year left on his contract. And obviously all the things that are going on in Ottawa right now, the refinancing that's come in. There were rumors of a possible sale or a group coming on board. That has sort of been calmed down in the last couple of hours. There's just a lot of mess with the Ottawa Senators right now. And honestly, and I know you might feel bad about this if you're an Ottawa Senators fan, but if you're an Islander fan, you can say, well, at least we're not them. And as an Islander fan, you really can't say much today because you're at the bottom of the barrel, but you can still point to them Ottawa Senators and go, at least we're not the Ottawa Senators. And I don't know how much comfort you can actually take in that, because honestly, you really should not take a lot of comfort in that whatsoever. Hockey Talk Show here with you live on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, you can get all details and information on our show and what we do here at hockeytalkshow.com. It is a Facebook and YouTube live show, which becomes a podcast as soon as the show is done. And this is essentially going to be the, we think, final show of this 2018 season, our inaugural season. So let me take a moment to say thank you to all of you. Some of you have been here from the first show pretty miraculously. I don't know how you showed up, but you've been here from the beginning. And I want to just thank you guys for all the support so far for this year. We will do more shows in the summer if there's a need, if there's a big trade. If John Tavares goes, another couple of days, which I guess is entirely possible, we'll be here. That's the beauty of the Hockey Talk Show. We turn the channel on. We're here together talking hockey. As I say this, the news breaking just now that Tyler Bozak is expected to sign with the St. Louis Blues. No doubt a fallback plan for the St. Louis Blues if they were to lose Paul Stastny, which, if you're joining us and you did not hear, Paul Stastny expected to sign, I believe, a 3-year contract with the Vegas Golden Knights. Pretty big movement. Aside from John Tavares, which we're going to talk about, I want to talk about the overall movement that we're seeing in the league today, because there's going to be a lot of moves. There's going to be a lot of moves. And I know JT is going to be the focus, but let's not forget, James Neal is out there. There's still 30-plus goals out there that can be attained. And JVR looks like he's going to go back to the Philadelphia Flyers. He, of course, from Jersey, very close to Philadelphia. So that makes a lot of sense for him. But, you know, for the teams that are losing players here, like Winnipeg losing Stastny, or really St. Louis, you could almost argue losing Stastny, they're going with their fallback plans, and that's going to be a big part of it. And James Neal, as the smoke clears from John Tavares here, we're going to start to see James Neal's priorities go way up. So I looked at, you know, Van Riemsdyk, and I'm saying to myself, why is he signing so soon? Clearly he wants to be home. He feels comfortable within the Flyers organization, so that'd be the reason why. But if Van Riemsdyk hung around and just kind of stuck with it and stayed out there for a couple days, he could have, and to Greg's point, Greg on Facebook, Van Riemsdyk to the Flyers, $7 million. Ouch. Honestly, he could have probably garnered $8 million from another team that was desperate. If you're the Dallas Stars, if you're the New York Islanders, if you're the, who else is in on this? The San Jose Sharks, and you're throwing $10, $11, $12 million at John, and it falls through. He's only going to go to one of those teams, and it falls through. Your next step would have been JVR. Now your next step is James Neal. Guess what? You've got $8 million to throw around. You might not be able to get it, but look at this from the stance of the Dallas Stars or the San Jose Sharks, because I think those are the two teams most desperate to get a big-time player like a Tavares. You're in this bidding war, and you don't get JT. Let's say he goes to one team, 1 out of 6 teams, JT goes. Now you become 1 out of 5 teams bidding for James Neal's services. That price is going to go way up. That's what agents do. So, honestly, we're in for one hell of a day here as far as surprises go. And I just think it's awfully exciting. JT is a big part of this. Again, we're going to talk a lot about him. We're going to get into why it's taken so long. But overall, we still got a whole ton of great stuff coming here on the Hockey Talk Show. So again, for those of you guys that have been with us from the beginning, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank the folks over at NHL YouTubers, Lou and the whole crew over there. I want to thank the folks over at NHL Red Light Hockey for kind of being our little partners, all and not little, but they're a huge part of the show's growth. But for allowing us to be in their group each and every single show, it's really been a big deal for us and help us grow the brand here and the channel. And that's all we want. At the end of the day, we just want to have a bigger community to come and talk hockey with. So if you've been here from the beginning, we're kind of coming down to the end, if not the last show here, aside from a special trade or a bonus show. Thank you guys for everything you've done so far this season, and continue to spread the word, even in the summertime. Share our page. We'll be throwing out some little content things here and there. Make sure you guys throw it around what we're doing over here on the Hockey Talk Show. Let's see. Where do we want to go first? There's a lot to do. 11:44 in the East, although I feel like a lot of the moves have really kind of come already. Let's catch up with some of the comments that are coming in. Austin rooting for the Lightning here. Let's say, personally think he has damaged his brand, says Pro Tip, talking about John Tavares, and lost the locker room. I'm good if he leaves. Now let's go after Erik Karlsson. I get the feeling that Tavares is gone, either Sharks or Leafs, says AD. Rob, welcome in. You're welcome. Anybody here watching Spain versus Russia in the World Cup? I am not. Sorry. Do the Columbus Blue Jackets do anything today? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they're trying. Every team is trying. It's interesting, though. We really haven't heard a whole bunch of buzz on the Blue Jackets, have we? All has been like super quiet in Blue Jacket land. I mean, you've got to be sort of at the top of the roller coaster bracing for what's going on there in Columbus with Artemi Panarin talking about not wanting a contract extension right now and maybe wanting to see where this whole thing goes. Scary times if you're a Columbus Blue Jackets fan because you've been so close for years with a good competitive team, and Artemi Panarin was a huge part of that this year for you guys. And now it looks like he might become the next, next John Tavares-like situation. Who knows? Who the hell knows? We'll get to Columbus, I'm sure, if anything comes about. Austin, as a Bolts fan, it would be awesome to get JT, but I'm worried that if we do that, we'll not be able to re-sign players like Kucherov and Vasilevsky after next season. I think it's going to be an interesting thing for a lot of teams, especially Toronto. And I know Toronto is super excited about getting their boy, bringing the hometown kid in here. But I remind the Toronto Maple Leafs fans, guys, you can say goodbye to Mitch Marner or William Nylander. There's no way that moving forward, this team gets to hold on to Tavares, Nylander, Marner, and Matthews. And I said, and again, I think it's great. Look, you can never argue with picking up a quality player like John Tavares, but, to draft 3 guys and carry those 3 huge players with you for the entire span of your career, that is super special. That is super special. And it may take a little time and a little patience, which a lot of Toronto Maple Leafs fans may not have. But I would much rather go that route than go out and try and grab somebody from the outside. That being said, the person that you're going to grab is John Tavares, who's a hometown boy. You can't exactly argue with that either. Gregory Alexander Brown, where does Tavares end up? That's the age-old question, isn't it? Let's get to that in a sec. Who are the Blues going to get? Dan, happy to say that they just got Tyler Bozak. Tyler Bozak is going to the St. Louis Blues. He'll be your replacement for Stastny, who left at the deadline. Who are the Ducks going to get? Tommy, it has been all quiet on the front of the Anaheim Ducks. Only buzz I've been hearing about the Ducks really is the amount of conversation the Ducks have had with the New York Islanders at the draft itself. I really haven't heard much on the Ducks, but I'm going to put that on my list of things to look out for. Brian G. Hickey signing with Isles, 4 years. Is that official? Because I haven't seen that. I think this is a free agent class where Tobias Reeder, Thomas Hickey, you're going to have a lot of subpar players getting some big contracts here moving forward. Not taking anything away from Thomas Hickey because he's a small defenseman. He's a good defenseman. He's a great 5 or 6. Of course he is. But I just think a lot of these guys are going to get overpaid today. A lot of them. Tobias Reeder is one. Like, you're starting to see a lot of these guys garnering 4, 5, 6 suitors when honestly they really shouldn't. Look how much attention Reeves picked up and the deal that he was able to sign, which a lot of people are saying he's overpaid. I think players get what they get, but you're going to see a lot more of that today. Tobias Reeder, Thomas Hickey, those guys are going to get some big contracts. Let's see here. Carter Hutton to Sabres, 3-year deal. Awesome for my hockey pool. Let's talk about the goaltenders for a second here. It looks like Yaroslav Halak is going to go to Boston. We got a lot of goaltender moves. Craig Anderson, Robin Leonard. You've got a lot of broken goaltending pieces. Broken. Not great. There's going to be a big shuffle. They're calling it a carousel. It's going to happen, and you're going to have a lot of mediocre goaltending. Just get up and move a couple chairs over and switch back around. I don't know if it's going to help. I think it's going to be great for some teams. Some of these guys are going to come out of it. I would expect Robin Leonard to have a better year. I would expect Carter Hutton maybe to have a better year. I would expect Craig Anderson, wherever he lands, to have a better year. But, honestly, there's not a lot of great goaltending out there and available. So, that's definitely an issue. Let's see here. Mikey, great show. Thanks, man. What are the Blues going to pick up? Tyler Bozak, talked about that. Let's see here. I understand you say that for Toronto, but look at Pittsburgh with Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Fleury, then adding Kessel back in the day. I say if you want to, you will make a place for those big names. Will the Isles get Leonard? I don't think so. I think Robin Leonard's going somewhere else. Greg, it's a great point. Look, it's a great point. I mean, if the Maple Leafs are going to pick up, Tavares, and that's where he wants to play, look, it's a great move. And I think it's going to be a great move for them for at least a couple seasons. And that's what the Maple Leafs are banking on, is they don't have to pay up just yet. They don't have to make some of these sacrifices just yet. And let me explain what I mean by that. Before we get there, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up on this video, Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, go to YouTube and hit the thumbs up on the video. Double down on the thumbs up. Make sure you guys are subscribed to us on both channels. It's super important. Help spread the word about the Hockey Talk Show today, and definitely get that out of here. Before we go back to the comments that are coming in, I appreciate all the comments. Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and what we're looking at here, because they're one of the teams that is not as cap tight as the Tampa Bay Lightning are to try and fit him in, but definitely are in a little bit of a situation. Hang on, let me buzz through some of the rumors that are coming through here. Islanders are among a number of clubs that had interest in Perron, but obviously missed out. Some talked they had a convo with Buffalo about O'Reilly. I've been hearing O'Reilly to the Islanders over the last little while here. A lot of people seem to be buzzing about that. Let's see here. Minnesota Wild agreed to terms with Nick Sealer. Not necessarily a big move for them, but solid. Bozak's AAV around $4 million. Blues desperate to get a center, give him $5 million. That's what I'm saying. Prices are going to go up today. Things are going to get crazy. Guys are going to start getting peeled off your list, and you're going to start to make some moves. So 3 years, $5 million for Tyler Bozak to the St. Louis Blues. These are things that on a day like today, you're like, oh my God, we need a center, got to pay him. And then 3 years from now, you're like, why is this guy making $5 million? That's what happens on free agency day, though. Calvin DeHaan, still undecided, arguably top UFA D-man on the market. Some of the same teams involved in Tavares also interested in him, plus other teams. There's Caps considerations to play here. His camp will be patient. Tavares is really holding up a lot of other players today, not just centermen, not just the James Neals. And obviously, the interesting thing about Paul Stastny is he didn't care to wait around. Stastny is another player that his price would have went way up when one of the teams in on Tavares fell out. He just thought, screw it. Vegas is good and get some money. I'm going. He's not waiting. He's not going to play the Tavares game, Stastny. So that's super interesting to me. And Calvin DeHaan, by the way, one of the more underrated defensemen. This kid is amazing. I think he's a top 2 defenseman. I think he's a number 2 defenseman, if not a number 3 defenseman on a depth chart. He's just been way overlooked with the New York Islanders. I've watched that kid grow up. I've watched him play a whole bunch really close up. Whoever gets Calvin DeHaan this year is going to be a steal. The Islanders screwed themselves when they only gave him a 1-year tender last year. You can blame Garth Snow for that. He totally fouled that one up. Another thing that I would say is completely his fault is the fact that the Islanders are definitely going to lose Calvin DeHaan, as it seems right now. So let's look at the Toronto Maple Leafs and how Tavares is able to fit in here. The cap going up was a surprise to everybody that it went up $5 million, and it gave a lot of teams a lot more space to deal with. The Toronto Maple Leafs have 24, just about almost $25 million in cap space. Let's say they peel off $12 million of that for John Tavares. It gives them 13 moving forward. You can get Austin Matthews under contract. You can get Mitch Marner under contract, assuming that, Patrick Marleau's $6 million comes off in 2020. Nathan Horton's going to come off. So they're going to have a bunch of money available to them. But it's just not plausible to assume that you can keep Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares, which, by the way, Nylander needs to be qualified first. He's an RFA this upcoming season. He does not have a contract. He needs to be signed. So the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have to get really, really creative. And also, and I know there's craze for John Tavares in Toronto, but I just feel like that money's more well spent with a defenseman. You've got Morgan Riley, Zaitsev making $5 and $4.5 million. Gardner's making $4. and then it's going to be a UFA. Hainsey's making $3. I mean, your defensive depth in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization is downright garbage. And you're talking about adding John Tavares to Marner, Matthews, and Nylander. Now, of course, things can change. You can go and you can trade one of those guys for a defenseman. That could absolutely happen. That's the way to go. I mean, that's what I think will happen. But, you know, like I said, you're giving up on a special player either way, whether it's Nylander or Marner. And it's just a tough route for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let me pick this up here. Looks like Brian Burke is talking.
I was in Afghanistan, so Dave Nonis made the pitch. We offered him 6 times 7, I think it was $42 million. The agent laughed at us. He ended up getting $63 million. I think he got 9 years at 7. So that was the really good one to get laughed at.
You know, just for the record, some people still turn in the wallet despite no ID.
We've got the Hockey Central TV up over here because Brian Burke is there. And having been a former general manager, I just think he's an incredible person to have some insight from. So whenever he talks, I tend to go over to him and see. If you're curious, he obviously thinks that the Islanders are out of the John Tavares race, but we'll wait and see. So that's the Toronto breakdown to me. To me, Toronto is a competitor for the Cup if you go out and get that defenseman this year. Take that $12 million and go out and get a good defenseman. You know, try and pry Erik Karlsson away. Work on that. Do what you can there. To me, that would be my focus. That would be my focus. Don't let Karlsson go to Vegas. Don't let Karlsson go anywhere else. There's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to be able to go out and grab him. Drew Doughty's gone now. He signs, which, by the way, isn't it kind of hilarious how Drew Doughty started this whole issue between Karlsson and the Ottawa Senators, and Doughty locked up an 11-year deal, and that was it? It was Doughty who was like, I'm going to get together with Erik Karlsson and figure out how much we can make more than PK Subban, who's the highest paid defensive player right now. And now he goes off and signs his $11 million deal, and there's Erik Karlsson sitting there holding the bag. I mean, Drew Doughty in this situation, kind of a dick. Kind of a dick. It's like when you say something to start a fight between a couple friend of yours, and then you walk away, and then they're fighting. Like, kind of a dick move. Let's go over to your comments. Your comments are going to be a big part of today's show. I want to make sure we don't miss as many as possible. If you have to re-put them in, don't be afraid to do so. It's not a problem at all. Let's see here. AD, Barzal could be better than Tavares. I'm going to address the Tavares Islander situation, too, because I don't think it's as catastrophic as it feels right now for Islander fans. JT got to stay with NYI. They owe him money for being underpaid for the last 5 years, says Daniel. It's true. JVR for how long? I forget. What's the JVR? I don't know. He got it $7 million for, I think, 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. $35 million. Brian says JT going to the Lightning. I want Karlsson more than I want JT to stay. We will be fine without him. I don't know if the Islanders are going to be in on Karlsson. I mean, it makes sense. They'll have the money. Let's see what the insiders are saying, John Sannon and Chris Johnston.
I think John Tavares may do something, but we just don't know when. I mean, it could be next week for all we know. What we're going to get after is we're going to get just an avalanche of press releases. There have been so many deals done over the last 2 or 3 days that really weren't supposed to be done. They've been agreed in principle. And so from that perspective, we're going to get a lot of things like that between now and 1 o'clock.
Chris?
Well, the one note about the Tavares thing I think that's worth mentioning is there was some thought, did Lou Lamoriello put this cone of silence down? Was there some deal cooked? He was on the official release the league put out there. He is a free agent. He can only sign a 7-year maximum deal. And we should mention all these defensemen going out the market. Elliott mentioned Ian Cole. Toby Enstrom is someone who's going to move on from Winnipeg. There's been a pretty good market for him, and I would expect he's another name we'll be hearing moving pretty soon.
And Darren, trades, not just signing trades, maybe, just maybe we're going to see some moves as well. 13 trades done since the Caps won the Stanley Cup. Darren.
Thank you. You see the clock and the seconds ticking.
All right, so there you go. We're about 39 seconds away from free agency. Actually, it's 12 o'clock. We're here already. We are here with free agency, so all these deals are going to be announced right now in an official manner. JVR, Stastny, all those deals that we know are agreed upon in principle. are going to be announced. Let me address this because there's. I know I keep saying we're going to address, but there's a lot. There's a lot with John Tavares. This John Tavares thing may not be settled today. It may not be settled here at noon. I don't think anybody's waiting for 12 noon to announce the Tavares deal. But with everything that I say and the insiders say, take it all with a grain of salt because there's literally 3 or 4 people that know what's going on with John Tavares. That's why nobody else knows. Because nobody wants it out there. They want to be able to iron it out. So we'll wait and see. But I do have a feeling that this Tavares thing can drag on. And I think that gets pretty bad. You know, we talked about hurting his brand. Brian Burke mentioned earlier on that if you're one of the teams making a deal to try and get John Tavares, if you're one of the offers out there and he doesn't sign with you today, pull an offer. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that a general manager is going to feel that way. Then again, if you've been in constant contact with them and you feel like you're getting really damn close, then you're going to stick with it and wait until the very bitter end, till there's no sauce left on that plate. All right, let's start with some of the signings that are coming in. But that being said, I think John Tavares hanging around for another couple of days is entirely in the realm of possibility. Obviously, this is a very, very hard decision for John Tavares. That's clearly what this is. He has no idea. He's having a hard time with something, that's for sure. Or they're trying to get something out of somebody else. Who knows? Who knows? We'll wait and see. Ian Cole to Colorado, 3 years at $4.25 million. Blake Como to Dallas, 3 years, $2.4 million. Woo! Blake Como. Thought he would have been out of the league years and years and years ago. Hung around all this time in Colorado. Now picks up $2.4 million from the Dallas Stars. Ian Cole is a great pickup, a great defenseman. $4 million, 3 years. Good for them. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's deal is officially announced for the Arizona Coyotes. Good for them. Detroit Red Wings have signed goaltender Jonathan Bernier to a 3-year contract. Cam Ward to Chicago, $3 million, full no-trade clause. It is a sad day in the hockey world when Cam Ward can net a $3 million backup job and get a no-trade. A $3 million backup job and get a no-trade clause. That is insanely stupid. Red Wings signed Thomas Vanek to a 1-year contract. Congratulations to them. Chicago Blackhawks also pick up Chris Kunitz and Brandon Manning, who gets a 2-year deal. I like the Kunitz signing for Chicago. A winner in Chris Kunitz, a good third-line guy, what the Chicago Blackhawks need, addressing their bottom 6 for sure. Great move bringing in Chris Kunitz. Yaroslav Halak is a Boston Bruin, 2 years, $2.75 million. He'll go behind Tuukka Rask as a backup is really what he should be. Bernier to Detroit, 3 years, $3 million AAV. Doesn't have any trade protection. Not as good of an agent as Cam Ward, clearly. Let's see. Columbus Blue Jackets are losing their longest tenured player with Matt Calvert's departure. Cam Atkinson or David Savard, who both made their debut in 2011-2012, are now the leaders. Thomas Plekanec with the Habs, $2.25 million base salary on a 1-year deal. Can earn up to $3.5 if he gets certain bonuses. Tim Schaller to Vancouver, 2 years, $1.9 million each year. Van Riemsdyk makes it official with the Philadelphia Flyers, $35 million over 5 years, $7 million per. David Perron goes to the St. Louis Blues at 4 years, $16 million. So there you go. Tyler Bozak and David Perron is your solution to the St. Louis Blues, a team that hasn't been able to get over the hump. You welcome back one of your problems that couldn't get you over that hump, and Tyler Bozak, who wasn't great for the Toronto Maple Leafs up until recently. So there you go. Feel good about that, St. Louis. I'm sorry to sound so negative, but it's just true. I got to be realistic here. Let's see. These deals are flying in. Plekanec turned down a better deal from Chicago to return home to Montreal. San Jose's goal going into the offseason was to add a top 6 forward. If they lose out on Tavares, they'll pursue Neal or a trade. That from David Pagnotta of the fourth period. Roman Polak's one-year deal in Dallas is $1.3 million. Van Riemsdyk, year 1, gets a $1 million bonus, $7 million salary. Year 2 is the same. Year 3, $1 million bonus, $6 million salary. Year 5, year 4 is the same thing, $1 million bonus, $6 million salary. Year 5, $1 million in bonus, $4 million salary. He did not receive any no trade or no move. How the frig did Cam Ward get a no move clause? If James Van Riemsdyk couldn't get it, how did Cam Ward get it? That will be the biggest befuddlement of me for the day today. That's insane. That is insane. I just don't get that at all. I'm wondering if that's a mistake at this point. That is so bad. Obviously, a lot of these teams are going to keep their last year really, really low, as a lot of these 30-year-olds that are signing 5, 6, and 7-year deals are going to be buyout candidates when that time comes. Let's see here. Trying to move through all these deals coming through. Yaro Halak, 2.75 to back up is great. You know, a lot of these guys that are going to play goaltending carousel are going to go into a backup role. Jack Johnson going to Pittsburgh as per Darren Dreger. No surprise. People are already starting to burn their John Tavares jerseys. Let's hear from James Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah, you know what? It's a chaotic week for sure. Hectic. Lots of things to consider. So, again, it's all good options and good problems to have. But certainly, again, you want to go over all the details of everything and try to find the best fit for yourself.
How many teams reached out to you, James?
Yeah, there was a few. I mean, all to varying degrees. So probably, I don't know how to put a number on it, probably 10 to 12, somewhere in there. So, yeah.
Why Philadelphia?
Yeah, you know what? I think again, first and foremost, I think I look at the team that they have and the players they have, the guys coming up too. I'm really excited about that. They have obviously some guys that I'm familiar with from when I played there my last stint, and again, I can't say enough good things about the organization. Again, they treated me very well last time I was there. I still remember even getting a call after I got traded last time from Mr. Snyder, and that resonated a lot with me, and just goes to show what kind of classy organization that they are. So I think stuff like that, again, made it a great fit.
James, take us inside the courting ritual, the period there. What was the sell from Philadelphia? Did they have players reaching out to you and sort of discussing the philosophy of the team and why it was a good spot for you personally?
Yeah, you know what? I think, again, you want to do your homework. So you talk to different guys that have had experience playing there and maybe aren't there anymore, and obviously talking to some of the guys that are still there. And you get a chance to talk to the coach and management and stuff like that, and just kind of feel them out a bit and pick their brain about what they're thinking and go from there. But it's definitely, again, the process is definitely an intriguing one.
A lot of speculation, at least in the media types, that you might have landed with the New Jersey Devils being sort of a New Jersey guy. But this is right there. I mean, how close is this to your home?
Yeah, you know what? I think my parents are doing backflips right now. They got a 90-minute drive or so to come down to watch the games again like they used to all those years ago. So yeah, again, it'll be exciting to be able to share this with them. And I think, again, that's also part of this, what makes it so exciting for me.
James, you had such a great year this past year, 36 goals. A lot of Leaf fans were hoping that they would be courting you and you'd be coming back. What are you going to remember about your 6-year tenure in Toronto?
Yeah, you know what? I think, again, just how great I've been treated from day one. I mean, I think I remember my first memory of getting traded to Toronto was driving here, crossing the border, and being so excited I actually got pulled over. And when I got pulled over, the cop came up and he recognized who I was, and he said how excited they were to have me. And since then, it's been nothing but, again, the support and great things from people. I mean, I can't speak enough, again, how great the organization has been to me, and the city and the fans. And again, obviously, lots of great things to say about playing here. Lots of great people.
All right, that's James Van Riemsdyk. I can't stand player interviews too much. After a little while, they stop talking. But let's go over to John Tavares and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I would assume that ship has sailed, as it was just announced that the Tampa Bay Lightning have extended Ryan McDonagh on a 7-year deal with a $6.75 million cap hit. That is very, very cap-friendly for Ryan McDonagh. But obviously, that is a good chunk of change for the Tampa Bay Lightning that is going to go to McDonagh, who many assume would have just played out this last year with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They thought, here's a 2-year window for the Tampa Bay Lightning to win a Stanley Cup, and that would be the end of it. But now that they've extended to him for another 7 years at $6.75 million, I just don't know, taking a look at the funds that the Tampa Bay Lightning have, how they would make a John Tavares work moving forward, moving past this year, because many assume that if Tavares was going to go in there, they would just let a couple of guys sort of walk away, Dan Girardi, Ryan McDonagh being one of them. But as I take a look at this, I mean, I guess there's still some things that could be done. But again, we talk about RFAs and Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov and Vasilevsky, who are going to need contracts and significant ones. I would assume, and again, this is all moving very, very fast, so I'm going to have to take a look at all the options and see if there's another way out of this. I would assume that Tavares to the Tampa Bay Lightning is a dead issue here. Thomas Hickey goes back to the New York Islanders, 4 years at $2.5 million. It looks like he'll stay there as their steady 5th and 6th defenseman. Bozak to St. Louis, 3 years, $15 million. Blake Como is a surprise, $2.4 million, 3 years. And we talked about Yarrow getting that 2-year, $2.75 million deal. So the Islanders making a signing today in Thomas Hickey, not obviously the signing that they want to have in John Tavares. But I guess if you're an Islander fan and you were worried that this delay in the Tavares decision was because they were trying to figure out a way to eke the numbers together with Tampa Bay, we know how close Tampa Bay and Steven Stamkos are. I'm not seeing this from many other people right now. The insiders are not really putting anything out there just yet, but I would assume that the Ryan McDonagh deal would axe Tavares to Tampa Bay. Joe, this is killing me about John Tavares. I know, man. I know. As an Islander fan, it's really sad to see. If you're a Toronto fan or a San Jose fan, this is an exciting day for you. You have a chance to get an unbelievable player in John Tavares. I think the Islanders, although obviously, clearly, there's no way to sugarcoat this, it's a devastating loss for the New York Islanders. I mean, again, there's no way to make anybody feel better about this. Obviously having a Matthew Barzal helps a little. Anders Lee, but I look at the New York Islanders core there, and I mean, if you pick up a James Neal, I thought a Van Riemsdyk might have been a possibility with the tie-in between Lou and Toronto and Van Riemsdyk. But if you pick up a James Neal as the New York Islanders, statistically, you're not all that bad. You're not in all that bad of shape. Assist-wise, Neal's got none of it. Neal does not have the playmaking game that John Tavares does. But from a goal-scoring standpoint, you're talking about similar numbers between those two players. So I think you get desperate on James Neal if you're the New York Islanders and John Tavares walks. I think the fact that they haven't yet is a sure sign that Lou, even though probably at a standing 8 count right now, is not done throwing some punches whatsoever. I think that's the sign that we can get from that right there, is that the Islanders basically with a standing 8 count, I don't think Lou's going to go down swinging. Lou is going to absolutely go down swinging and not going to completely walk away from this whatsoever until John Tavares' name is on a contract somewhere, whether it's with the Islanders or more likely now with another team. So I think James Neal would be a great option for the Islanders, but the problem becomes is if you would have kept John, you could have added, you know what I'm saying? You could have used assets to get back to certain places. Now they don't have that sort of freedom. Let's go back to the insiders, Chris Johnston.
With the Tampa Bay Lightning, $6.75 million. And it's kind of an interesting deal. For one, we thought Tampa is a potential landing spot for Erik Karlsson should Ottawa move him. But, looking at their cap picture, Anton Strahlman, Braden Coburn, Dan Girardi, all UFAs next summer. So perhaps there would still be room for him. And Tampa was happy with what they got from him after acquiring with the trade deadline. And gets him down on a big deal. They got him and Hedman now signed long-term on their blue line.
One of the beasts in the East, remember, 113 points. They finished first in the Eastern Conference. Didn't make it, though, to the Stanley Cup final. John Shannon, you also have some news out of Montreal.
So the Thomas Plekanec deal, which we've talked about already, the base is $2.25 million. There's a games played portion of the bonuses that can get him to $3 million, and if he gets lucky, another $500,000 to get to $3.5 million. Little down from his numbers of the previous contract.
So there you go. I don't know who was just asking about Plekanec in the YouTube chat, but there you go. Joe. Yep. Joe, back to the Canadians.
Boston at $2.75 million for 2 years.
All right, and the turtleneck manufacturers in Montreal are very happy about the Plekanec deal. Get those red ones kicking once again. Darren.
Thank you. Ryan McDonagh and that contract that has been signed with the Tampa Bay Lightning, does that mean anything in the John Tavares scheme of things?
I don't think that they were ever in it, and I don't believe for one second that Steve Yzerman thought that he could get to the point where he would hold off on that. Oh, no question about that. Yeah, maybe it kind of intertwined a little bit, Darren, but no question that they paid a heavy price with the New York Rangers to get him. And they weren't interested.
Yeah, so, okay, now everybody coming to the conclusion that we came to just a couple of seconds ago, which is that this officially takes the Tampa Bay Lightning out of the mix as far as the John Tavares sweepstakes goes. So, and then there were, what, 5? Dallas, Boston, I guess, still a possibility. We haven't really heard a lot about Boston. I know a lot of people say Toronto's the front runner. Those people tend to be from the Toronto media. So I don't really know how much we can hold that to be true, but the John Tavares sweepstakes obviously moving into a high gear here with the Tampa Bay Lightning being knocked off of this little list. Toronto, San Jose. I still feel like San Jose is a great option. But let's talk about John Tavares. Let's dive into this right now as things are quieting down now, 17 minutes in to the free agency period. What the hell could be delaying this for so long? Here's my thoughts on this. A couple of things. One, I thought it could have been trying to creatively fit John Tavares into the mix in Tampa. It would have been tight salary-wise, but I thought maybe that was what was delaying things. Let's take that off the table. We have the issue of John Tavares and this notion of he'll sign a 1-year max contract with Toronto, and then he'll go off and sign his 7-year deal. Well, that we can basically eliminate now at this point because he can only get 7 years from everybody, even if he returns to the Islanders. So let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. It is still entirely possible that he goes there, but they are going to have to do some creative accounting. I know there's a lot of restrictions with the AAV of players. You can no longer have these big, long contracts, these huge salaries up front, and then little after that. The delay could be them trying to juggle and figure out how they can get something over to, is it Nylander that needs the deal this year? Or Marner? I think it's Nylander. Nylander, who needs a deal this year. He's an RFA. Obviously, he's going to be asking for a ton, giving his stature and status within the Toronto Maple Leafs. You've got to figure that out. And then you have to figure out next season Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, amongst some others. Jake Gardiner is going to be an unrestricted free agent after next season. Now, I know a lot of Leaf fans want to let him go, especially given what he did in the playoffs for them this year. That Game 7 was awful on the part of a Jake Gardiner. But he's still a fairly good defenseman. Speaking of fairly good defensemen, Jack Johnson, solid. Pittsburgh, 5-year, $16.25 million deal. Good for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They got much better today with Jack Johnson. Ian Cole going to Colorado. So Columbus losing 2 massive pieces today. Mike Green is in love with Detroit. I think he's the only one on the planet. And the big contract extension for Ryan McDonagh as he goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So could the delay be, how do they fit John Tavares into Toronto? It could be. It could be. I don't know if this delay really bodes well for San Jose, other than the fact that it's just an indecision sort of a thing. Does he really want to live and spend the rest of his life in San Jose? And I think the same could be said for the New York Islanders, which is, does he really want to walk away from this team that drafted him? Does he not want to finish his business? I know everybody says it would be catastrophic for him to sign a 7-year deal with the Islanders, and that's why everybody thinks that the Islanders are out of it, and I tend to believe that too. I don't really know how the Islanders could be making that happen. But that being said, there's clearly something keeping his signature off of a contract right now, and maybe it's just a flat-out indecision of he doesn't know where he wants to be. Toronto, San Jose, or with the Islanders. And I don't know about you, but I would rather let a year of contract go and be sure that I want to be there than sign under any sort of pressure or duress. Yes, I know that the meeting stopped on Wednesday. Yes, I know he's already spent his whole entire career with the Islanders. Yes, I know he's visited San Jose a whole bunch of times and should know what that area is like. Yes, I know he's from Toronto and should have a good feeling about it. But when you're making a big decision like this, where there's a lot at stake for not only you, but your fiance, who's going to be your wife in just a month, your family, your fellow players that come after you, as is the responsibility of any big player who, when you sign a contract, your contract is going to, be a point for other free agents in the future. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about and go over. So the guy's going to take his time, and that's all there is to it. And I honestly don't really know if there's anything, that can be done. And I don't know if it gets done today, because if I'm John and I need to take my time and think about these things, I might take another 2 or 3 days if I feel the need to. He's earned it. He's earned it. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The John Tavares thing could possibly not be done today. And I think that is something that everybody is going to have to come to terms with. It obviously makes a lot of sense for him not to go back to the Islanders. I get that. I understand that point of view. But honestly, at this point in the whole entire process, flat out, nobody friggin' knows. Nobody knows. William, I just think he really wants to stay with the Islanders and waiting on the money. Now, the consensus, William, going into this is that was an absurd statement. That was dumb. Why would you say that, Will? Islanders are giving him a blank check. I think that was the case before. I think, William, your point now is valid. This is a different scenario with Lou. Perhaps the Islanders aren't going to open up a blank check. Perhaps the Islanders don't want to pay him $12, $13, or $14 million. Perhaps Lou comes into the situation and says, I understand this player is important, but I can build a winner without him. I can take this money and put it towards better use. I'm not going to be one of the general managers that overpays for a player today, no matter who that player is. So, Will, maybe your point is right. Maybe your point is valid. Maybe John and the Islanders are at a point right now where that open blank check got taken away, and the Islanders want to make a responsible offer to John. Maybe the Islanders, though nobody thinks that they're dealing from a position of power, look at this and say, hey, we're going into a new arena with Lou Lamoriello and the Stanley Cup winning Barry Trotz. We have the Rookie of the Year. We have a solid 30 goal scorer right behind him in Anders Lee. We have Johnny Boychuk and Nick Leddy. And yeah, we need some defensive help. And yeah, we need a goaltender. But we're not that far away from this. Because coming right behind all of those things that are helping us be competitive right now, add Jordan Eberle, add Anthony Beauvillier to that mix, is Kiefer Bellows, Noah Dobson, Oliver Wahlstrom, and a lot of other prospects that many agree are way good. Way good. So maybe Lou is coming with this as a position of patience. Maybe John wants to come back, but only at $12 million, which is what San Jose is offering him. And it's the Islanders that are saying, well, let's see. We don't know. We don't know. And that being said, maybe it's Toronto who's saying, look, John, we want you here, but we can't give you 12 because we want to keep Marner and Nylander and Matthews. So will you take hometown discount to get to us? And maybe although John wrote off Boston or wrote off Dallas or wrote off San Jose, he's using one of those offers now to go back to Toronto and say, look, I got 12 mil from San Jose. Come on. I want to come there. Show me what you got. Who knows? Who knows? And that's the beauty of the situation, is that nobody knows. With all the leaks, with all the people talking about things here and there, nobody knows. Phil, I said earlier this week, if he wasn't re-signed by the time I left work Friday, I'd assume he's a Shark. I'm sticking with that. All right, Phil, let's talk about your point, man. And thank you so much for the comment. Let's talk about Phil's point. I had the same feeling. I thought this guy's going to be a Shark. Similar market to Long Island. Small. You can walk around. You can go to the mall. Nobody's going to bother you. You got a winning team there. You got a great goaltender in Martin Jones. A friggin' great goaltender in Martin Jones. Sabres sign Hutton, by the way. That's a done deal. Matt Hendricks to the Minnesota Wild. Done deal. You've got great forwards all around. Thornton's going to come back for a year, probably at a very friendly fee, especially if he had to fit Tavares. Couture, all those other guys, Burns, they're all there. Kane just signed on. You got a lot of scoring, you got a lot of depth. You got a great team. Great team. Great market. Better than Long Island. No winter. Right? Sunny. Not necessarily a good thing, though, from a guy from Toronto. He might like a little bit of snow. But anyway, Hudobin to Dallas, 2 years, $5 million contract. So I was of the same belief. Yeah, San Jose looks damn good. Got a lot of money. A lot of money. Got a lot of great players, a lot of depth. Competitors for a long time. He could be the piece that puts them over the top. So I'm with Phil. I'm thinking when Friday ends, he's probably going to San Jose. When I had a rejuvenated, maybe he stays with the Islanders. It's their last chance, last gasp on Saturday. I thought, maybe. But I thought, if he doesn't sign today, he's probably going to San Jose. And now here we are, Sunday. It's 12:28 p.m. And Phil, I'm with you all the way to 12 o'clock this afternoon. If he was going to be a Shark, why hasn't he signed already? What's the holdup? What's the holdup with John Tavares and the San Jose Sharks? Somebody's going to have to explain this to me, because there's nothing stopping him from going there yesterday and Friday. If that's where he wanted to be, why hasn't he signed yet? Why? It doesn't make sense. Much like the Islanders, much like Toronto. Just because he hasn't signed there doesn't mean they're dead. But why hasn't he signed there? Am I right? Am I right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Before we said that, what's his name? Cam Ward got a 3-year. I don't know if I said this, but I might have. Got a 3-year deal to go to Chicago. It looks like that's a 1-year deal now. A 1-year deal at $3 million. I don't know about the no movement clause. That might have just been a erroneous report before. Another intriguing free agent here on the mix, and I want to make sure we get him in there. Michael Grabner just announced himself on Twitter he's going to Phoenix, which is quite hilarious since Phoenix doesn't have a team. But the Arizona Coyotes live in Glendale. Perhaps somebody wants to tell Michael Grabner that. Perhaps somebody wants to let Grabner know. Actually, bud, it's not Phoenix. It's Arizona now. Not exactly a great feeling if you're a Coyotes fan and your prized free agent just announced your old location. Poor Grabs. 3 years, $3.35 million. Good for him. Solid move by Arizona. Grabner will thrive there. He loves to play golf. It's great weather. There's not a ton of pressure. I think Grabner will put up 20, 25 goals for that team for the next 3 seasons. Great signing on the part of Arizona. Great signing. Good money. Good for Grabner, who makes out really well. He signed a bunch of really friendly contracts over the last couple of years as he bounced around, but continued to put up good numbers with the Rangers and the Devils and Toronto. I think he'll fit in real nice with Arizona. Young guy, comes to play, doesn't worry about the whole move of the franchise, just wants to be paid for his talents, and now he's going to get that in Arizona. I love the deal big time. Big time. Arizona Coyotes. Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Michael Grabner, you got to feel good. Hjalmarsson re-signed, right? You got to feel good if you're the Arizona Coyotes. They're having a pretty damn good offseason for a team that was consistently in issues. They're having a pretty good offseason so far these last couple of weeks. OEL, obviously the big grab there, but Grabner, a really, really solid good move. Good for them. Good for them. Let's see here. What the hell are we talking about now? Oh, yeah, San Jose and Tavares. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. They've got the money. San Jose Sharks right now have a projected $18 million in cap space. $18 million. Tomas Hertl needs a contract. Chris Tierney will get a deal. It won't impact that money all that much. Everybody else is signed up. Everybody else. Jumbo Joe needs a deal. It'll be a 1-year deal. I have no doubt in my mind he would take less money to make something work. No doubt in my mind. So, with $18 million in funds, what's stopping San Jose from getting him under contract right now? And now, look, I get it. Nobody wants to go out there and be like, here's $14 million, John. We need you. We're desperate for you. But semantics. 11, 12. Did Tavares give up a 8th year to squeeze out another $500,000 million from the San Jose Sharks? I mean, do you think it was there? I just don't. I just don't. So, I just don't know. I just don't know what's happening with John, and I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody knows because, again, it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't have already signed with the Islanders and gotten his 8th year. It doesn't make sense that he wouldn't have already signed with the San Jose Sharks and gotten the maximum amount of money because they were probably the ones that could offer him the most if he didn't want to stay with the Islanders. You know, if he really wanted to play at home in front of his Toronto crowd, it doesn't make sense. He would have had that deal done already. What I think is becoming more and more evident, and I'm honestly coming to this conclusion as I sit here in front of you and do this show with you guys right now, I don't think John's decided yet. I don't think John knows where John wants to play. Tom, does anyone still hold out hope that the Tavares will come back to the Isles after not signing an extension by last night? My answer to that is logically no. Why would he go back and not have signed that, gotten that 8th year? But my non-logical answer, which is I think where we are right now, we're in non-logical town. is that he doesn't know. And I think that actually bodes really well for the New York Islander fans. Because if you thought you were out of it last night, which I thought they were, as you sit here today, 35 minutes past free agency becoming official, other players coming off the board that would have affected Tavares or been affected by Tavares, Stastny, Van Riemsdyk, you have got to think that there might be perhaps something tugging at old John's heartstrings to come back to the Islanders. Now, nobody in the media world will say that for fear of looking totally stupid. But if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube now, look at your old pal Ant. Look in these eyes. I don't give a crap what people think about me. I don't care if you do think it's stupid. John Tavares not signed at 12:36 on free agent day means that there is definitely still a possibility he goes back to the New York Islanders. It's just as good of a chance as he goes back there, then he goes to Toronto, and he goes to San Jose. Because how could you say anything at this point? How could you? Would have been done anywhere. Do you think Tavares takes a 2 to 3 year deal to see if the Islanders do get better? Joe, I say no to that because the next 2 or 3 years is going to be the choppiest for the New York Islanders as they share arenas between Brooklyn and Long Island, and the Belmont thing gets built. So I think the 2 or 3 next couple of years would have been the sacrifice sort of years for John with the Isles. Those would have been the ones that you just go through to get to the good times. But I do think that John did love playing in the Coliseum. It was his first arena. And I know he was excited to see them getting some games back there. And I know that Lou really did what he could to push and make that 20 games this year instead of just 12, which was originally announced. Which, by the way, and I can't confirm this, nor will I even try to, because I don't care. But the Islanders are leaving money on the table for that. The Islanders are definitely leaving some money on the table for that. They definitely left some money on the table to take those games back to the Coliseum. Now, who knows if they'll make it back up on ticket sales, because I feel like the Coliseum will definitely sell out for 20 games since it's really a commodity now. But that being said, I think they definitely left some money on the table to make that happen. Chris, Matt, nice comments. Thanks, guys. I love having you guys around here. Appreciate that. Hit the share button on Facebook and YouTube. Help spread the word on your social so that everybody else knows that there's some hockey talk going on here. Van Riemsdyk, I guess we would say, is probably the biggest deal that we've seen. I mean, obviously Drew Doughty re-signing is a big deal, but that's just an extension. McDonagh, I think, is a big splash and has an impact on the Tavares market, so that's a big deal. But again, just an extension. I think the biggest free agent signing at this point is Van Riemsdyk. I mean, you can make the argument for Stastny as well. But we're talking about Columbus here, and where does this leave the Columbus Blue Jackets? The Winnipeg Jets obviously did not get any better today. St. Louis made some improvements, but how much? And we can break the news for you right now. It has been confirmed. The Islanders will not re-sign John Tavares. So there you go. That is from Arthur Staple of The Athletic. He is he's the go-to guy. He's the beat reporter for the New York Islanders. If it comes from him, he heard from someone. John Tavares will move on from the New York Islanders. There you go. So, is it Toronto? Is it San Jose? I guess the Islander fans' biggest fear just came to fruition. The delay hasn't been him considering going back home. Hasn't been anybody pulling on his heartstrings. He's a goner. He's a goner. Islanders out of the Tavares race. You heard it right here. 12:39 Eastern on free agency day. So what happened? I would guess John Tavares got wooed by somebody. And I would guess that the bidding really started to pick up on John. They gave it their all. By the way, and I wanted to mention this earlier, and I don't think I got to, Lou Lamoriello did everything he could. Lou Lamoriello had the first meeting with John, actually the second meeting on day one. with John over in CAA. And he stayed the entire week. He let John and Pat Brisson know. He's like, I'm going to be here in LA the entire week. I thought that was pretty ballsy and old school Lou Lamoriello. I really thought that was pretty ballsy and real old school Lou Lamoriello. Be like, I'm going to be here. This is going down. I'm going to be here for sure. So I think that Lou, in signing Barry Trotz and everything else that he did, the extra 8 games at the Coliseum, staying in Los Angeles, I think that he did everything he could to keep John Tavares in the blue and orange and just couldn't get it done. Just couldn't get it done. Sorry, Islander fans. John Tavares is moving on. Take a look. That's the last time you'll see him like that. That is the last time. JT is moving on. Islanders need to figure out who their next captain is going to be. And for many of you, you heard it here first on the Hockey Talk Show. Sad. It's sad, really. Joe, I knew it. Yeah, get that frustration out, Islander fans. Now's the time. This is what we're here for. This free agency show just turned into a New York Islanders fans support group. In one foul swoop, it just became a support group. That's it for 91 in the orange and blue. He's gone. For the Toronto Maple Leaf fans, for the San Jose Shark fans, you have got to be really excited. Isles are out. Tampa Bay Lightning are out. Your chances just got a whole hell of a lot better. Can we really count out the Boston Bruins or the Dallas Stars? I guess technically no. But I don't really know how. It just feels like it's San Jose and it just feels like it's San Jose and Toronto at this point. I'm laughing because of some of the memes that are coming in from the Islander fans. Michael Scott, I am dead inside. Coach Dan just got on. Where did he go? We don't know. We just know that he is not going to the New York Islanders. Flames Hockey Gaming. Flames on Tavares. No way. No way. Not never. Not never happening. Let's see. I had the footage of the guy burning his Tavares jersey, but now I can't seem to find it. Let's see here. Confirmed John Tavares not returning to New York. Where do the Isles go from here? I think if you're Lou, there's no time to cry. You get on the phone, you bring James Neal in immediately. Like I said earlier, you bring in James Neal immediately. You have to. You have to make up those dirty goals. As far as assists go, look, he's not the playmaker that Tavares is, but you got to bring in Neal immediately. Let's see what Dan Rosen is saying on the subject from the NHL Network.
To follow Dan Rosen, thank you.
Oh, we just missed it.
We're streaming on NHL.com all day long, so you can follow this wherever you go, and we're certainly following it closely. As he said, a gut punch. This is the captain. This is the #1 overall pick in 2009, and it would appear that Lou Lamoriello and the Isles are going to get nothing in return for a player of great value. Where do they go from here?
This is the constant challenge for any manager in the NHL. A lot of folks have been through this. It's a hard question. You've got this asset, a coveted asset, somebody that prior to unrestricted free agency, you could go out, you could parlay into another player or perhaps a bright set of prospects. This one runs through the fingers of the New York Islanders. Nothing to show for it. Islanders fans recognize at this moment, the opportunity to compete for the top prize in the NHL probably moves a few years further out on the horizon.
I would agree with whoever that dipstick is. I don't even know. Some guy on the NHL Network. But yeah, I think this definitely sets the Islanders back a little bit. As you can see here, the CBJ artillery throwing the old lighter fluid on the Tavares jersey and taking a match to it. There it goes. Up in flames, kids. Up in flames. Brian, Islanders GM better get fired. Yeah, that's true. But they already did it. That's the problem. They already did it. There is no doubt in my mind that the obvious maneuver that has taken place today is 1,000%
you don't want to play for the Islanders anymore? We don't want your ass either.
He entirely
fucking burn.
We
want you to fucking burn.
He entirely screwed this thing up. Garth Snow screwed this thing up from day one. Couldn't get this done. This is nobody's fault but Garth Snow. If you want to put a little bit of the blame on the new owners for not making the move when they got in here to begin with, you could absolutely do that. But 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. You can blame Charles Wong all you want too. It's still Garth Snow's team, and he fails to get it done. Too little, too late for Lou Lamoriello. What's important for Islander fans now is to move on. James Neal is out there. He doesn't cost you anything. The reason why the Islanders get moved back a bunch now is because if they have to go out there and trade some assets to make up for Tavares, you are moving yourself behind a little bit because those are the assets that you were going to use to add to your goaltending and your defensive depth, which they desperately need. So I think the importance of getting James Neal in here really becomes massive for the Islanders, who can throw a lot of money at him, and rightfully so, because you got to get that scoring replacement in here. If you do that, I don't think that the Islanders fall off as much as people think. And again, this is not, I mean, this is just from an analytical standpoint. You're going to have a tough time making up the assists. Obviously, teams play John Tavares harder than they do James Neal. But look at how good James Neal thrived in a speed system. I mean, you put James Neal on Matthew Barzal's line, and now you're talking. Now you're talking. You put James Neal, you move Matthew Barzal up, you get Brock Nelson up and hope that he, thrives a bit underneath Barry Trotz, and you might have something there. You might have something there. You hope that Barry Trotz can get Ladd going again. And, if he does, the Islanders are really, honest to goodness, I don't think it's going to be as devastating as many people think. Don't get me wrong. It's not great. It's never good to lose a player like Tavares. But again, Barzal, Nelson, if you can bring in another 30 goal scorer like a James Neal, because you've got to walk away from Bailey. I mean, I'm sorry, but you've got to walk away from Bailey at this point. And that's another thing that, Lou Lamoriello is going to have to unscrew is the big extension that Josh Bailey got. You have Ho-Sang down there. Like I said, Kiefer Bellows is going to be fighting for a spot this year on the team. It's not all that bad. You're going to have an assist deficit. But honestly, if I'm an Islander general manager, if I'm Lou Lamoriello right now, do whatever I can do to get James Neal under contract and then go back to work figuring out how you're going to improve this defense and how you're going to get a goaltender in here. Because seriously, the moves that were made today, I'm not impressed by any of them. Hutton, Leonard, it doesn't matter. It's goalie carousel. If you're going to roll the dice on somebody, I would have liked to have rolled the dice on Robin Leonard or Craig Anderson. But anybody else, maybe Hutton. I mean, the Buffalo Sabres seem to think that Hutton is the guy, but I don't know. I'm not all that much, I'm not all that much enthused by it. breaking news. JT scratches KFC from his list of where to eat. If McDonald's can land the McPasta, then it is very likely JT will land with McDonald's. There you go. That's from Austin. If I was an Islander fan, I would move to the mainland. Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. All right. It is 10 minutes till 1 o'clock. I thought we would go till 1 o'clock or so. I'll pretty much stay there. I just don't know if it's San Jose or the Leafs. I would assume that we're going to find out at some point today. I don't know how much more we can exhaust the conversation, though. It feels like those are the two. And James Neal, again, becomes a real big figure in the free agency market, as if Tavares does go to Toronto, now you have the Islanders and you have San Jose perhaps competing for Neal. Before we got on the air, I heard that James Neal to return to Vegas actually got a little bit stronger. And I was surprised that there haven't been much of those conversations to begin with, because if I was Vegas, I'd have never let Neal walk in the first place. But it seemed like a foregone conclusion they were going to let James Neal go and David Perron. But it turns out they only let Perron go, and Neal, it has not been determined as of yet. John Shannon is reporting that what he is hearing on Tavares, it's not a financial issue. It became the arena and goaltending. I don't think it's the arena, to be honest with you. I think it's the goaltending. I don't think the arena situation really bothered John. I think it's the goaltending. And rightfully so. Look, maybe John waited as long as he possibly could to give Lou time to bring somebody in here that he thought would have been worthwhile to go a year or two with. But as of right now, he just doesn't have it. And also, I want to put a stop to this already, because I can see this on Twitter. People want to retire the number 91 jersey for Butch Goring. Stop with the insanity. Stop with the insanity. I like Butch Goring just fine. I mean, I liked him better as a hockey player than I like him as an analyst. He's garbage as an analyst. But I just don't know if we could retire Butch Goring's number. Come on. He was the final piece in the puzzle, but what are we going to do? Retire everybody's number that was on the 4 Stanley Cup teams? I just don't see that happening. We have the structure on Oliver Ekman-Larsson's deal, $8 million the first year. In year 2, it's $4 million. That's interesting. Year 3 goes to 10.5. Year 4, 5.5. Year 5, 10.5. 6 is 8 mil. 7 is 5.25. And year 8 is 5.25. That is some pretty interesting structure. What that says, I have no idea. Again, just to correct from earlier, Cam Ward, 1-year deal, $3 million, full no trade. I'm not a big fan of the no trade, but I can see that going for just 1 year if it's really important to the player. And you just need to get it done. That's fine. Let's see. Darren Dreger, careful to say he's not confirming anything, but just said that indications pointing at Leafs in Tavares watch, said comes via a number of agents who said Leafs talking with them about a number of clients, then suddenly stopped, as if something changed. All right, so that's interesting from Darren Dreger, saying that the Leafs were on the phone or calling and reaching out to a number of other free agents, probably James Neal, probably a few others, and then that going cold. Could that be a sign that that deal is getting done now with Tavares? Tavares for the Leafs. In what seemed like a whole bit of insanity just a few short weeks ago, never in my life did I think it would happen. Now it looks like could be a possibility. And there's a couple of factors here. One of them being the salary cap going up $5 million. Made it possible for the Leafs to attain him. That's $5 million extra dollars. People thought maybe 2 or 3. 5 is a different world. You get $5 million of extra cap space. Suddenly a $10 million player is not all that inconceivable. I will say, San Jose Sharks fans, take this with a grain of salt, because as you know, you talk about fake news and all this kinds of stuff in the world of the United States today. There is no bigger homer than a member of the media from Toronto. They love pointing at the Leafs. That being said, Darren Dreger is one of the really, really good ones, and there are a lot of dog doo-doo ones out there. So I would tend to believe him if that's where he's saying. But he didn't want to confirm it, but he's just bringing up the point. And now I can tell you, John Tavares has agreed to terms with the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's official. David Pagnotta of the Fourth Period reporting. John Tavares will be a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The local boy goes home and allows us to put a bow on it 5 minutes before 1 o'clock. John Tavares will be a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Congratulations to number 91. I guess being home and close to your family was a big deal. That is going to be one sick, insane lineup. John Tavares, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander. Let's not forget Patrick Marleau is there right now. That is going to be an unbelievably good team. Still need a defenseman, and I'm not sure how they're going to fit that in with the cap situation, but I would guess that Nylander or Marner, one of those guys, is going to wind up being traded for a big-time defenseman, and you got to think perhaps that could be, I mean, it could be an Erik Karlsson as far as, you know, how good players are. Marner for Karlsson and a lot of other pieces would kind of be what makes that happen. But can you then fit Erik Karlsson under contract with what you're going to have to pay, you know, a Nylander or Marner and Austin Matthews and all the other guys that they have under contract? I don't know. I really don't know. And does John Tavares become the next captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs is the other question. But I'm surprised. I am definitely surprised. John Tavares to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Darren Dreger pointing to it, and now David Pagnotta confirming it. I'm assuming with the CAA, but we'll wait and see. We'll hang with you guys for another couple of minutes to get confirmation here. Sad for Islander fans, but John Tavares goes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm assuming that's a 7-year deal. And I'm assuming that it is going to be somewhat of a financially friendly deal, as they have their work cut out for them on what's going to happen moving forward. All right, let's see here. I think we're being told that John Tavares is actually going to announce this himself on Twitter. We'll see. We'll see. Priscilla, and you're handling this like a pro. I would be so disappointed in him. I think there's going to be a lot of hurt. I think there's going to be a lot of hurt for Islander fans, and rightfully so. At the same respect, there's going to be a lot of joy for the Leafs fans. The Leafs have been wanting one of their hometown kids to come in and lead the Leafs for many years. Stamkos was just one of the latest ones, and Tavares now, and now they finally got one of their guys. So congratulations to the Toronto Maple Leafs. 7 years for Tavares is the report from Elliot Friedman. We'll see what the money is. Again, not really seeing this. I would assume this might actually be pretty friendly. I wonder what it's going to be. Maybe just an even 10 and a half, maybe 11. Maybe he got the 11 out of them. I don't know. Who knows how crazy this got between San Jose and Toronto, but it could be It could be 12 and a half. Could be 13. We'll see if we can hang around and wait and see. NHL Network behind as per usual. I like the NHL Network just fine, but man, they are just they're out of it. They're so out of it. We're getting the news to you faster than the NHL Network is, and it's hey, that's great for me in the Hockey Talk Show. I'm excited to tell you guys we're beating the NHL Network to things, but if I'm with the NHL Network, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Let's see here. 34 can learn a lot from 91. Eddie V, welcome to the show. Oh, sure. Now the Maple Leafs fans show up. Now I see. You get Tavares. Everybody's quiet. Nobody hears from the Toronto fans. Then you get 91. Now everybody wants to talk. I get it. I get it, Eddie. I see how it is. Now I'm waiting on the Tavares. I'm waiting on the Tavares Twitter here to see if he makes the announcement himself. But good for, I don't know, who was this, Elliot Friedman that scooped it? All right, let's go over to one of my faves. EA Sports, NHL 19, they're getting ready for a big fat release. Take a look at it. There's our first look. JT, first look in a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform. Daniel, NHL has a network? Eddie V, and it's what I've been telling you since October. Yeah, that's true, Eddie, but you said a lot of crazy stuff in that time. So how was I supposed to know that this one would actually come to fruition? I'm just going to say it for you, says Priscilla. Tavares is a jerk, not getting anything back in return for him. Wow, just wow. Look, it's upsetting, and it's certainly bad for Islander fans, but like I said, you can really erase some of the hurt today if you go out there and if you scoop James Neal up. If you're able to replace John's 30 goals with James Neal's 30 goals, I'm telling you, the hurt's not going to last for long if you're an Islander fan. If I'm Lou, I'm doing everything I possibly can to make sure that that happens today. Everything that I possibly can. I have got to make that happen today. 7 years for Toronto in Tavares, and here comes John Tavares' tweet. We will get it up on the screen for you guys right now. It is a note inside of... it's a note inside of his iPhone. True to form. Let's read it together. These past 6 days have been nothing I could have ever expected, making the toughest decision of my life to stay where I have been my entire career and take a calculated leap of faith into an opportunity that I believe will be special to me and my family. The island has been my home. It's what I know. It's a part of me. It always will be. I can't thank all of you enough for the dedication you have all showed. I'm sorry if this decision pains you, as you can tell, it wasn't easy. But have trust in the future because it is bright. The Islanders are in great hands. I'm thankful that I had an opportunity to be an Islander for as long as I did. The island, the fans, the organization, my teammates will always be special to me and my family. But it's time to live my childhood dream here in Toronto. There you go. There you go. As an Islander fan, how can you argue with that? How can you argue with a kid going to play for his childhood team? You can't. You can't. He's got one more here to the Islanders. To the New York Islanders, I've been so fortunate to be an Islander, not only because of the love and support of the fan base, but because of how lucky I was to be around so many great people. From ownership through management, staff, and of course all my teammates, they helped me mature and grow into who I am today. I will always be thankful for how they molded and guided me to be a better person and hockey player. Memories and friendships that I will forever hold close to my heart. Thank you, everyone, for your impact on me. I will always be grateful. My words will never be able to fully show the impact my time on the island had on me. Aaron writes in, still not winning the cup. It's huge news in Canada. On Canada Day, by the way, John Tavares is a Toronto Maple Leaf. 7-year deal. We don't know what the money is just yet, but he will wear the blue and white. Eddie, always listen to the Canadian correspondent. Well, how about this, Ed? Why don't you change your logo from the Buffalo Sabres logo then? How about that, bud? Does he replace Matt Martin? On the fourth line, I think so. I think JT will be killer for the Leafs on the fourth line in Matt Martin's place. Yeah. The hurt continues from John Tavares. I'm thrilled to be starting a new chapter in my career and life in Toronto with the Maple Leafs. I feel very fortunate to come and join a team with a great young core and play where I grew up, learning and loving the game. I can't wait to get started. So there goes John, handling it as graciously as he could. And there's the latest tweet from him right there. Thrilled to be starting a new chapter. Well, if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, boy, this is exciting. This is really exciting. And I mean, if you're Tampa or anybody else in that division, you got to be a little bit scared. The Leafs just bulked up big time. Not only did the Bruins and the Lightning not get Tavares, but the Leafs got him. I mean, this is going to be trouble for them. The pressure holds true that Toronto is going to... Oh, now John can't stop tweeting. Okay. Oh, my God. Look at this. Look at this. The kid's sleeping in Toronto Maple Leaf sheets. How could you be mad at this guy? I mean, of course you're pissed as an Islander fan, but look at this. He's got his stupid little Star Wars nerdy ship right there, and he's sleeping in Toronto Maple Leafs sheets. It hurts a lot. I know it does. Believe me, as an Islander fan personally, and I put that aside a lot of the times for this show, it hurts me greatly. But when you step outside of this, take a look at this kid sleeping on Toronto Maple Leaf sheets as a kid. Come on. $11 million a year over $77 million. So obviously you left a couple of coins on the table here to go with the Leafs over the Islanders. But regardless, and he's going to pay a lot more taxes too. But regardless, look at that. Kid gets to play for the team he grew up rooting for. Unbelievable. We're going to leave you with this image right here. A young John Tavares sleeping in his Toronto Maple Leaf sheets. $11 million a year for 7 years. I guarantee that was far less than what the New York Islanders were offering. And I'm certain that was less than what the San Jose Sharks were offering. Sharks probably got $12, $13 million. I'm sure he could have gotten paid more than Connor McDavid. Certain of that. He definitely took a little bit of a cut to make the Leafs work, and that's probably where we were at today. 7 years, $77 million. Guys, it has been a phenomenal season. Now that John Tavares has signed up, we'll wait and see where James Neal goes as he moves to the top of the list as prized free agents. If you follow us on YouTube exclusively, I can't encourage you enough to like the Facebook page for the Hockey Talk Show. You can get links and information at hockeytalkshow.com. We're going to be updating that with little tidbits over the course of the summer. If there is a big trade, Erik Karlsson moves, or somebody else, we'll be back here turning the channel on live with you guys talking hockey because that's what we do. But as far as steady shows go, this is basically it for the year. We got a lot of fun stuff planned for next season, and I'm not going to tell you what any of that is just yet, but stay with us because it's going to be a very, very special year. We'll touch base a couple times over the summer, of course, and again, we've only grown because you guys have shared us on social media. This has been a totally organic growth so far this season, and I can't thank you guys enough for sticking with us. We got a lot of excitement to come. The Islanders and where they're going to rebuild from here. Arizona got good today with Michael Grabner and OEL coming back into the mix. Who's going to be the next captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Can they get that defenseman that they need? And who goes, Nylander or Marner, for that D-man? Because it pretty much has to be somebody at this point. A little bit of awkwardness going to be in that Toronto Maple Leaf locker room for sure. Who takes over as the next captain for the New York Islanders? And we got some rebuilds going on with the Rangers. What's happening with the Canadiens? Where does Dallas go from here now that they no longer have 91 as a possibility? Well, they got their own 91 that they got to eventually re-sign because he becomes an RFA. Tyler Seguin. Bam. We can put him on the clock. Seguin, now that Tavares is gone, becomes the next. When will he resign? And speaking of, Artemi Panarin. What happens with him? We've got a lot of uncertain futures, and I'm sure a lot of rumors to go along with it. We'll see you guys on the next shift right here on the Hockey Talk Show. Thanks, everybody, for all the support. Continue to share this channel around Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I'll see you guys on the next shift.